Try that with us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, what a good night it is. A special, a sacred night. It's always a sacred night when we gather together for Shabbat. But this night there is something very new. Someone very new in our midst. We are so happy. I know you've heard this over and over and over again today, but we are so happy you are here. Rabbi Lawrence. Oh my goodness. This is what we call our show. Absolutely. We are so happy that you are here. In fact, let us take a moment, now that you know who this guy is, let us take a moment. Oh, and by the way, I'm Rabbi Perlman.
And I'm Cantor Cord.
So let's take a moment and find out who it is that is seated all around us. Why don't you share your names with those seated in front of you, behind you, next to you, and share a hearty Shabbat Shalom. It's so nice. I see people in the front row saying hello. It's so good. And folks across the aisle, and I know that there are some folks for whom this might be among your first time back, or even your first time. If this is, you consider this your first time back, or your first time back in a while, let us know. Yes. Oh, or here ever. Yes, let us know. Amazing. And I know someone else for whom it is their first time here. So to help us bring in the sacredness of this Shabbat, the lights of this Shabbat, we want to invite up Katie Rosa, wife of Rabbi Noach Lawrence, to help us, along with Rabbi Lawrence, to light our Shabbat candles. In our Sidurim, in our prayer books, we are on page 2. Oh.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav, etzivanu lehanik
Thank you for sharing your light with our community. We turn now to Kiddush, pages 4 and 5.
Vayechulu hashamayim וצוונו, ושבת קודשו, ואהבה וברצון, הגדילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר לצפיית מצרים. קיבלנו בחרת, ותנו תקדשה, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. אמן.
We have welcomed in the light of Shabbat and with Kiddush, added a little sweetness and song. And so now let us continue to bring Shabbat into our hearts, into this space, this holy space, as we turn to page 12, the Chonerani.
לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. נריה, נריה לצור ישנו, נקרא פניו בצדקה. נריה, נריה לצור ישנו, Mizliron Ariado, Nechuneranena, 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 Ladonai, Nechuneranena, 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 Ladonai. Page 13 at the bottom of the page. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamai, Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamai, Yismechu Hashamai, Betager Haaretz. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamai, Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamai, Yismechu Hashamai, Betager Haaretz. Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam Umeloho, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam Umeloho, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam Umeloho, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam Umeloho. Yismechu Hashamai, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Betager Haaretz. Page 17, the last paragraph. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu Nehar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu Nehar Kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu Nehar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu Nehar Kodsho.
You got that Shabbat spirit yet? Yes, Shabbat is here. The Shabbat bride, she is ready to come and enter into our midst. It is a tradition as we sing L'chad Odi, which was coming up on pages 20 and 21, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. It is a tradition that when we reach that very last verse at 9, that we turn and face the door. Now we're outside. So everywhere, I guess, is the door. But maybe we can all turn when we get to verse 9 towards how we came into this space. And what I love, I don't know if it's going to happen tonight. What I love, sometimes when we're saying L'chad Odi, someone enters into that space. I was a bit surprised. But I love it. And I love it not because I want anyone to feel uncomfortable, but I love it because it's like as if Shabbat is embodied in that person as they enter. And that's what it looks like when I look at anyone in this space. That's what I want it to feel like on Shabbat. That they are Shabbat. That we're really welcoming them in. That they indeed can be this additional spirit and soul that's going to add to this rest and rejuvenation on this day. And so, no matter who comes through that door right now or walks through this way, let us open our hearts. Open our hearts to them. Open our hearts to Shabbat. Again, pages 20 and 21.
Tzaddik, tzaddik,
Once again, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I like your hearty Shabbat Shalom. I love your hearty Shabbat Shalom. So just a brief word about our Torah portion this week and what it might bring to us in this moment. In this moment for each one of us personally, perhaps in this moment for us as a country. Our Torah portion is Korach. It's in the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, and it begins with a big debate, a big argument between Moses and Aaron and their priestly cousin Korach about who is going to be the leader of the community. There's a big sacrificial battle. Fire pans come out, and God chooses the winner. And we know that God chooses the winner because the earth opens up and swallows up Korach and his band. No clearer answer than that. What happens next, though, is that the people don't just take it at that, because they are terrified. They are frightened. And so the next day they go to Moses and they go to Aaron and they complain and they are angry and they are scared and they rebel. And Moses and Aaron, they don't quite know what to do, but God does. God says, and this is where I'm going to invite you to open up that Shabbat pamphlet. Hopefully you received one as you came in. I brought you some text. I'll read it out loud in case you don't have it with you. I'll read the English. This is what opens up here, Numbers chapter 17, verse 8. When Moses and Aaron reached a tent of meeting, the Eternal spoke to Moses, saying, "Remove yourself from this community, that I may annihilate them," meaning the people, in an instant. And they, Moses and Aaron, fell on their faces. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Take the fire pan and put on it fire from the altar. Add incense and take it quickly to the community and make expiation for them, for wrath has gone forth from the Eternal. The plague has begun." Aaron took it as Moses had ordered and ran to the midst of the congregation where the plague had begun among the people. He put on the incense and made expiation for the people. And I wish I bolded this for you. He stood between the dead and the living until the plague was checked. So the people rebel. And what does God decide to do? What's God's reaction? Just call it out. What's God's reaction? A plague. Annihilate them. And God is done. God is done. What is the reaction of Moses and Aaron? What did Moses and Aaron do?
Supplicate.
Is that what you say?
Supplicate.
Supplicate. Tell me more. Supplicate. I'll repeat for our folks who aren't able to hear us online. Supplicate. What do you mean by that? What do they do?
Pleads for God's forbearance.
Pleading for God's forbearance by bringing the incense into the community. Great, great. And so what more? So tell me more. What do they do? What's extraordinary? What's extraordinary about that? What's extraordinary about Aaron's and Moses' action in this moment? God has just began. A plague has just began.
He tried to block the plague from the living and the dead.
It's coming from God.
They argue.
Right, Julie, and they run right in.
They argue with God.
They argue with God. And Marilyn, you were going to jump
I
in?
was just going to say, he sets a barrier between the people.
And they said, like their bodies almost. Aaron's body is like this barrier. It is extraordinary. They are putting in their lives, or Aaron is putting his life on the line. What's especially extraordinary here is that Aaron is a Kohen. He's a priest. And he's already explicitly been told he cannot come into contact with the dead. Yet our text tells us he is right there, right in the midst of all of the chaos and the pain and the suffering. He is not afraid. And what's even more extraordinary in this moment is that a few Torah portions ago, Aaron's sons, Nadav and Abihu, they also did something that God did not instruct them to do regarding the fire pan, regarding fire and sacrifice, and their punishment was death. And so he's doing something quite risky here in this behavior. So why did he do it? Why did he do it? What would you do? What is worth it to you to run into the midst of the death, to stand between death and the living? Hillel, the first century sage, teaches us that we are supposed to be a student of Aaron. Why? Because Aaron loved peace and he pursued it. And Aaron loved people. And what I see, the evidence perhaps Hillel was pulling from, is this text. He acted out of love. He acted out of love despite the danger to himself. He acted out of love despite everything that had happened in the past, and he ran right in. And when I think about this moment in our country that we have right now, I think I get a lot of comfort from this text. I get a lot of comfort because there are times when it feels really risky to put yourself out there. But there is this urge, there is this call that we need to run into the fray and to be there for the suffering, to be there standing between the living and the dying. And we can put so many situations into what this could be. This is systemic racism. This is gun violence. This is what most likely will be the death of women across our country due to the ruling in our Supreme Court this past week. Half our country right now, there is no access to abortion for those with a uterus who become pregnant and need not to be. What is worth it to you to run into the fray? I also think about our country in this moment and love, because Aaron must have been so frustrated with the people. They were rebelling against him in that moment. But he ran in anyway. And for some of us, we are quite frustrated with our people right now, with our country right now. We are quite frustrated. We are disappointed. We may feel diminished. I feel diminished as a woman in this country right now. But I love my country enough. I love the people of this country enough. I love what the potential of this country is. I love the values that we stand for, that I'm willing to fight for it. And I hope that all of us here are as well, to continue to fight. What's next here on the page is what happens just a few verses later. Despite God's action, we find God's reaction to what Aaron does. In Numbers 17, verse 21 and following, Moses spoke thus to the Israelites. Their chieftains gave him a staff for each chieftain of an ancestral house, 12 staffs in all. Among these staffs was that of Aaron. Moses deposited the staffs before the Eternal in the tent of the pact. The next day Moses entered the tent of the pact, and there the staff of Aaron of the house of Levi had sprouted, and had brought forth sprouts, produced blossoms, and borne almonds. As opposed to that violent contest of leadership that had happened just prior, we have a new moment to affirm what leadership looks like, a more peaceful way to see, that of growth, that of blossoming. May all of us who feel compelled to run into the fire right now, may the work that we do blossom and grow and bear seed, bear fruit, so the next generation indeed can be proud of our people. Let me offer up a blessing for our country. God, be with the leaders of our country. Help them to lead. Help them to lead with wisdom. Help them to lead with strength. Help them to be courageous, to think beyond themselves, to think of those who are most vulnerable. God, indeed, protect those most vulnerable. Be a shelter to them in this storm, and guide us as well. May we be protected, and may we hold those who need to be held and guide them safely to where they next need to go. On the eve of this Independence Day weekend, may our country continue to be strong, and may we strengthen it with everything that we do. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Let us rise now for our call to worship. Baruch Hu, page 28.
We continue now with Rabbi, who brings on evenings. Please see the insert that we shared for this Shabbat, and please be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai, speak the evening into being. B'chokhma poteach she'arim, as you turn the seasons round. U'lachalif et hazmanim, let the stars keep watch above us. Baraki akir tzono, for the day and night are yours. Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, kevod malchuto, le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. Le'ahavta, verse 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך. ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן.
Modern adaptation by Rabbi Richard Levy of Los Angeles of a prophetic speech that Moses gives to the people in chapter 11 of Dvarim, Deuteronomy. If we can hear the words from Sinai, then love will flow from us, and we shall serve all that is holy with all our intellect and all our passion and all our life. If we can serve all that is holy, we shall be doing all that human beings can to help the rains to flow, the grasses to be green, the grains to grow up golden like the sun, and the rivers to be filled with life once more. All the children of God shall eat, and there will be enough. But if we turn from Sinai's words, serving only what is common and profane, making gods of our own comfort and power, then our holiness will contract and our world will grow inhospitable. Let us, therefore, lace these words into our passion and our intellect and bind them as a sign upon our hands and our eyes, writing them in mezuzot upon our doors, teaching them to our children, listening to our children teaching us, that our days may be multiplied and the days of our children as the stars of heaven and the dust of the earth, as faithful as the living waters that unite them. We turn to Micha Mocha, our song of freedom from the crossing of the Red Sea. Page 4.
Micha Mocha v'helim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef ele, Nora tehilot osef ele. Micha Mocha v'helim Adonai, Micha Mocha.
Blossoms behind us, and these faces full of light that we're all surrounding each other with. Certainly Katie and I feel incredibly grateful and blessed, and we feel that sense of awe, and I feel that awe present among all of us right now. And frankly, if that's not a Sukkot Shalom, if that's not a shelter of peace, what is? On that note, a poem by the great modern female American Jewish poet Ruth Grint, In Praise. Hail the hand that scattered space with stars, wrapped whirling world in bright blue blanket, air, made worlds within worlds, elements in earth, souls within skins, every one a teeming universe, every tree a system of semantics, and pushed beyond probability to place consciousness on this cooling crust of burning rock. Oh, praise that hand, mind, heart, soul, power, or force, so enclosed, separated, limited planets, trees, humans, yet breaks all bounds and borders, to lavish on us light, love, life, this trembling glory. We turn to page 42 and 3 for Hashkivenu, for Haporei Sukkot Shalom.
Ata Adonai, Haporei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim, Shalom.
Turn to page 44 for Rishamir.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We turn in our Siddurim now to page 253, where we find a prayer that asks for healing. Healing for those who may need it for their bodies, for their minds, for their souls. Let us indeed pray as a community for those in need of that healing. If you have the permission to share names aloud, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours in just a moment. And of course, we pray for all who are suffering at this time, those with COVID, those under conditions of war, those who are living in fear from any great number of things in our world right now. And of course, we pray for each one. So if you have a name to share, please indicate to me as I go by.
Rosenberg.
Ron Joseph and Joseph Michael. Steve Wolf.
Bob Wolf.
Aaron Levy.
Marco and Don Donovan.
David Williams.
May they know healing. All of those whose names we've lifted up in this space and those we are holding in our hearts. In Shabbat, page 253.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, a renewal of body, a renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Our Amidah begins on page 46 and the pages that follow. It's a chance for conversation with God. We can, of course, turn to the texts that are on the page, the traditional text on the right side, on the left as we open up our book. On the left are interpretive poems and prayers. Of course, in addition to that, we can also find those prayers that are in our hearts. It's traditional to face Jerusalem when we stand for the Amidah, to feel out which, thank you so much, which is this way. And for those of us who've just returned from Jerusalem, I know there's quite a number of folks, thank you so much, Rabbi. There's a number of us, including myself, about 48 hours ago. Those of us who just returned to Jerusalem, you know, our hearts are already turned there. Let us all now do this.
Adonai sefatai tivta uthia gitani latecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Each continue on our own and find a seat in our prayers.
May the one who makes peace bring peace tonight, as you entered our sanctuary tonight, you were greeted by board members Stephen Weinzimmer and Sarah Langline. And I now call on Sarah, who has some greetings and announcements for us on this Shabbat.
I'm getting shorter. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
To our virtual community also, we're so glad that you're all here tonight. I almost don't know whether to cry or jump up and down and scream hooray. I am so happy to have Rabbi Lawrence and his wife Katie in our community. It's a real Shehekianu moment. I didn't forewarn them, but Katie has a beautiful Shehekianu to share with us. Maybe we'll wait till next week. I don't know. Unless you want to do it now.
Come on.
I didn't want to do it.
Katie and I have a practice of doing the Shehekianu simultaneously in Hebrew and American Sign Language. So yeah, let's switch. So please join for whatever you either already know or sense on the spot. Shall we? Chad, Stein, Shalosh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh.
Amen.
So I do have regular announcements as well. Tomorrow morning, Torah study at 8:45. I believe there's a Shabbat Minyan hike,
Yes, and Rabbi Lawrence will be at both.
and that's at 10:30
Yes.
at the reservoir. Also upcoming our Shabbat in the park at Hat McGee Park, July 15th, I believe. Always lots of fun. Bring your families, bring your pets. And again on August 19th. I think that's enough for now. There's always lots of information on our website and in your handouts tonight. So that's the announcements part. And now I want to say thank you to the group of people that I had the pleasure of working with to bring Rabbi Lawrence and Katie to our community. My co-chair, Peter. Stand up, Peter.
Yeah, Peter.
The best person to work with and this son of a dog. And then everybody in our community who's here tonight, if you might stand up, I'd really like to honor your presence as well. It was such a wonderful time together. Kylie, Jeff, Paul, Laurel, Susan, and we're missing Alex tonight, but we have almost a full showing. So if you see these people, thank them because they worked really, really hard. And of course, I can't forget Julie and Cantor and Rabbi Perlman. So thank you, everyone. Please feel free to greet Rabbi Lawrence at the end of services and Katie as well, and continue to welcome them in our community in the days ahead. Shabbat shalom.
And a huge Toda Rabbi to Sarah as well. And Sarah, you may have said it, but of course, we have a big Shabbat plan for next week as well, next Friday night. Of course, you were here tonight, but next week when it's not a holiday weekend
And literally your first
and your
day.
first day. You're like, oh my God, it's email, it's 2 p.m. There's a lot going on today.
In all other months, I am not even welcomed as a rabbi even once. Why twice?
So we cannot wait to hear you joshing and more about everything that you have to share next Friday night. So be here, and there's a wonderful Shabbat dinner planned beforehand as well. RSVPs, please help us with RSVPs to make sure we are prepared for that Shabbat dinner beforehand as well. But for now, let us turn to our concluding prayers. We can turn to Aleinu in the middle of page 282. page 282. Please, as you are able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekinu la'le'otzeh b'reshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, ve'gor aleinu kechol ha'onav. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. לנאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ היום
Let us be seated. We've had a lot to celebrate tonight. But as we always do, we join together for all of the emotions and experiences and life cycle events that one walks through individually and walk through it together as a community. Let us remember those whom we've lost just in these recent days. We remember David Hall, Svetlana Gorlick, Marvin Max, and Ardis Felix. If you are remembering someone tonight for yardsticks, for the period of Shiva, Shloshim, you're remembering someone within the year, or you're just holding someone close tonight, I invite you to rise in place as you are able, or indicate to me to share their name aloud with our community, and if you wish, your relationship with them as well.
Zelda Simon, William Prosper, and Lazarus.
My husband, Ralph.
Gandhi and my friend Victor Herbert, who died this week.
May all of their memories be for blessing. Let's rise as we're able. Yikadav v'yikadash v'yiradav v'yalmad v'yirav v'yuteh v'yamid maluteh v'chayom v'yometom v'yeh v'kol beit Yisrael v'adolav yizlan karim v'yibru amen. Yevesh le'erav v'rav v'olam ha'mel v'yam yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yamaseh v'yitadar v'yitoreh v'yitoleh shemei kushar v'rim v'elam yikol v'rfata v'shirata v'shakata v'nechamata Damiran v'elva v'yimru amen. Yevesh lama rabba v'yishmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'namav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
we turn to page 330, page 330 towards the bottom of the page. We find words by Ezra. Ki eshmar Shabbat. Just as I observe Shabbat, God watches over me. It is a sign forever between God and me. We sing these words together to a melody that comes from the Jews of Baghdad. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmareni. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmareni. Oti le'oleni. Ki eshmer Eshmer Shabbat el yishmareni. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmareni. Oti le'olamea enoleni. Oti le'olamea
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.